Yeah, of course. Anyway, that aside, we're recording. Gotta get the screen on my part clear. Okay. Let's see. We have a fairly new student who's doing really well, but she's from India. She's going to go back to India for a period of time. So her question for me is, what can I do when I'm there to continue to practice? Okay, so multi-tiered question. Also, Fumiko, if you feel like joining in, please do. If you kind of want to just stay and just watch, then that's fine too. Glad to have you aboard. Okay, either way. But one of the things that I thought we'd do, just go through some quick exercises about things you can practice. Then we'll have a kind of an agenda, kind of going through the staff spear movements that we do. Okay, so we got a lot of stuff to cover. By the way, Cliff, is the audio okay as is?
The audio is actually really good, as it was last night. So much better than the last 2 Fridays.
Oh, good. So, you know, we've had trouble before because we were using devices. Now we're not. We're just using the iPad. So hopefully that's a good trend. Okay, a couple of things. And this is actually in its own way a good exercise, but it does require a couple of things: imagination and kind of what we call an imagination field sense. So, you know, I'm seated here, but for example, and I'm sitting easy here. We're going to work something that we worked at the Mountain View class. It's light. Okay. Now, the light that we're working on is something that emanates from and through you. There's light out there. But what I'd like you to do is, again, this takes a bit of an imagine, but also a feel sense. The light that we're talking about is emanating from the cells of your body. It may take you a bit, or it may be something to work on. We have a physical body, but we also have other dimensions of body. An energy body, a light body, okay? Many ways to phrase it. But let's just say, you know, I'm somewhere by myself, or just waiting in line or something, or I'm going to go in for a job interview or something like that. Easy. And there's a light coming from inside me. Now, thinking about it, trying to imagine it here. Every cell in your body is radiating that light. Now, you're not going to look around and see every cell in your body. So it's a general feel, imagine, sense. And what I kind of notice, for example, as I shift there into that more imagine, feel space, a lot of the dialogue up here continues, but it kind of quiets down a bit. And I'm more in the imagine, feel sense of this body that's generating all that light. And I get a This is again developing what we call imagine feel. As I can start to imagine, feel that light, I can sort of start to imagine, feel the space around the body being kind of calm and clear. I can start to imagine, feel the space under. Support, roots, ground. I can start to imagine, feel the roots taking in energy nutrients that increase the light. So it's all one unit of imagine, feel. Key element for me is that place where I can just quiet this mind and start to imagine, feel the light radiating from and inside me, outward, on the cellular level. There's so much stuff out there that's negative, okay? So much bad information if you're me, you know, with the midterm elections coming up. The Warriors are playing horribly, so I'm a Warrior fan, you know, there's a bunch of stuff you know, in the thought patterns of I. That's still going on, but all of a sudden I'm starting to touch a different level of what I would call being. And a lot of times if I'm just waiting in line or seemingly doing nothing, I can kind of start to practice it. And notice my breathing starts to deepen. My senses start to clear. When I'm in that imagine, feel, things are clearer. I notice my jaw relaxes. And nothing fancy. No. Another thing that we can do, for example, I'm going to walk across the room. Okay, I'm walking across the room. But a lot of what we do is motion. So that imagine, feel place, walking across the room. I'm going to walk across the room. I'm going to settle a bit. It's some level of it. Initially, it's there's not so much going on. It's hard to kind of focus in or hone in on. But we're going to walk back. Initially, it's hard to keep that light going out when I'm moving, but so those are just basic exercises we can do. Get pulled out in the world. Mixture of light and dark going on. Settling a bit. Starting to imagine, feel your own energy. Like, for example, here, I start to imagine, feel the light going in the body. I get a beam. We were working a little bit the other day where somebody comes to some weight, boom. So it has this use as somebody grabs your wrist, click, a different level of you. Calmer, clearer, just everything much more peaceful. Get more weaponized the light. No, the light is the light. I'm picking up again that feeling that light body goes way deep. Contacts the roots, draws more nutrients from. So those are just things you can kind of do. Okay. And I have another plan for the class, but I thought I'd lead with that. Cliff, anything on that?
No, I just something I think I want to work on, right? I mean, the stillness to the motion to the stillness and keeping the feeling of the stillness when you're moving. I think that's a big deal. And I think that's a lot of what we work on.
When you're in that light, this you got to settle past this, so there's a stillness going on, so you can imagine, feel the light. So yeah, I mean it's kind of in the same neighborhood. It's very individual, but since we did that thing in Mountain View about the weight coming in, and I'm gonna put my hand on block it as opposed to boom. In some sense, the world's always throwing things at us, right? Boom. Like here, for example, there's an opening there, but boom. See the actual sense of it, the beams cross there, create a wedge. You don't want to, you know, Ghostbusters, you don't want to cross the streams. Boom. So that can be weight, negativity, something coming at you, boom. So that's part of the, we're doing that in Mountain View the other day, which I thought was a good practice, especially after Nancy Pelosi's husband gets attacked by this maniac with a hammer. You know, it's like, boom. Okay. Better practice. Hopefully, none of us has to face that, but we can practice. Okay. You can do that seated. Standing. So all that, it's just all of a sudden, you know, we're kind of in that imagine, feel place where all the cells of the body. Those of you that watched the Marvel movie, Captain Marvel, okay, and so when she really starts to own who she is, right? All of a sudden, you know, she goes, boom, and her body kind of lights up. Then she flies into outer space, and then she takes on that whole Kree warship and wins. They run. We're not going to do that. I'm not going to fly into outer space that way. But those images can come from a deep, imagined field place. That's why they resonate with us. Okay. So I'm going to get this out of the way. And a couple of things. Okay. So what I thought we'd do today is to go through the 30 movements. It's a series of things, okay? Series of movements. So you can call it a kata, but apparently Osensei really didn't like the word kata. Okay. And so what we're going to do right here, and Fumiko, if you're not familiar with this, this is going to be put on YouTube. You can kind of follow along as best you can here, or maybe you've already done that. And then you can practice at home. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, okay? So movement number one, right hand. And you see this is a simulation of the three-section spear that Izanami used. They stood on the floating bridge of heaven, stirred the heavenly brine. The drops that fell off congealed into the islands of Japan. So that's a myth that Osensei liked, because he liked the reference to the floating bridge of heaven. Okay? And so, metaphorically speaking, my right hand is Izanagi or Izanami, and the left hand is the complement to that, Izanami or Izanagi, Okay, you can argue right, left, doesn't matter. Movement number one. Left hand on my hara area. Movement number two starts with the left hand and it goes out and back. So it's an upward counterclockwise spiral. 3 goes across, right to left, comes back. It's a downward clockwise spiral. 4 up on the toes and boom. And the symbology, I mean, this is more my read on it. Beingness. Becoming conscious. Movement number one. Primordial, whatever. At some point, it organized itself, decided to create the universe. Now, the upward counterclockwise spiral, when it was conscious, it had to create itself as a mind. And the body. In the original sense, there was a boom unity to the two. So that's my reading of the first 4 movements. I'm kind of surprised that, you know, there are so many different forms for staff, but that O-sensei did this stuff a lot. My version of it is a little different than his. I actually personally do a different one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Okay. And we go into the movement, but let's just say there's an original beingness. Well, since they like the, you know, he tried to explain Kototama, and he would quote in the Bible, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was. Okay. In the beginning, there was something that was just a pure beingness to things. And then it had to organize itself. I'm going to call that word vibration. Boom. Consciousness. That beingness becoming conscious would be number one. And that consciousness organize itself into a mind, a design, and matter, energy, a body. And the original of things, boom. The original plan had a perfection. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, what happens there? Left hand, lead, right hand, back, left foot forward. 6, thrusting motion. 7 is both up and down. 8, repeat 6. 9, right hand up, right foot up, left hand down, left foot back. And cutting, slicing motion. Okay, now, a couple of things. If you just practice, I mean, I basically, when I hold more just a staff, a jo, whatever you want to call it, I was taught mainly bow, the longer weapon. Okay, that's a strike. That's a strike. That's a strike. Okay. Oh. This guy, most spears are two-sided, since they like the three-sided spear, because it took them back to the Kojiki, or Izanagi, Izanami, with the jeweled three-section spear stood on the floating bridge. And in Linda Holiday Sensei's book, Journey to the Heart of Aikido, she interviews Ano Sensei. And when O Sensei would travel from Tokyo to Shingu and spend a week, he would bring his wooden three-section spear. So I suspect, how much of that did he teach in class? In class, he probably taught staff movements, but a lot of his own practice, I believe, was the spear sense. What's the difference? Okay, I'm striking, I'm piercing, I'm hitting and striking, I'm cutting. It's a little different. I put weight into a striking motion. A piercing movement, it's like light penetrating, going through. A laser, well, it's a little different feel. Okay, so let's just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so that's the first 10. The other thing is that, when I'm here, right hand just about an inch up. You don't want to do this, but you also don't want to do that. Okay? Left hand, and you hold from the top. There's a tendency to kind of hold it like a rifle. Light, easy, but under control. And as you finish that motion, boom, there's a double spiral, full extension, double spiral, full extension, double spiral. Even here, full extension, double spiral, full extension, double spiral. Okay? Right and left, Izanagi and Izanami, boom. One represents fire, the other water, boom. One can represent mind, the other body, boom. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay? So that's the first set of 10. And again, we call it the Taisabaki reference. Feet are triangular, but the body's like a closed door. You start in a semi-open position, but as we're saying, we go almost to a full open position without twisting that leg there. And so if you pay attention right here, it's a straight line out. When you go from semi-open to almost fully open, there's a spiral to the thrust that's not generated from your arms. Then when you move your feet off of that, you have the entering motion. Ditto for the cutting motion. Okay. If I go this way, see the head is exposed. So there's a little side action. Now here, if I go like this, the head is exposed. Goes from semi-closed door to closed door. So the hips are turning, power, but you're also moving off the line of an incoming motion. Okay? So that's all in the first 10. Okay, good. Anyway, Cliff, any questions? We've reviewed this a lot, but it's very important.
No, I'm refining my movements. based on what I'm seeing and what you're saying. So I'm fine tuning.
Good. You're not just refining, but you're integrating at a deeper level. Yeah. Okay, so the first set of 10, basically the thumbs facing away, or in the first part, thumbs facing up. That's the first change. Second set of 10, we go into the second change, thumbs face. Third change, thumbs face you. Then we go into what we call the fourth change, okay, which I kind of call the gravity effect, okay? Now what happens right here, I drop my weight, but gravity, a little different. For example, my mass doesn't change if I go into other gravitational fields. If all of a sudden I'm on Jupiter, boom. But if I'm the moon, I can jump 30 feet in the air, which I can't here, okay? So right about here, boom. Okay, so we're gonna go through the second set of 10. And what happens is you go into other changes. First change, first set of 10. Second set, we go through thumbs face, second change. Thumbs face you, third change. Fourth change is, actually, the truth of it, the fourth change can be in any of these, 1, 2, 3, because it's really about what I call the gravity effect. Gravity has not that much to do with putting your weight down, but your mass on a different planet. Okay, so this is meant to be done pretty much this way, but given the way things are here, for movement 10, left hand towards the middle, thumbs face. Turn, cover your head and your face. 12, thrust. 13, release, regrip, thumbs face you. 14, thrust back. 15 goes back to thumbs face each other. Catch with the left hand, step with the right foot, turn, pivot. That's 16. 17, the gravity effect. 18, release right hand, put it towards the middle. Thumbs face each other. And thrust back. 19, thrust forward. Now, 20, if this is sharp, I don't want to flail out. I also don't want to cut myself so. 20 is right foot steps back, okay? There's much more feet action in the second set. I'll do it from a different angle if I can. So from here, first change, 10, second change, thumbs face. Here, cover the head and the face. It's 11, 12, step in left foot, 13, up and down. Again, it's a striking motion, but here it's a cutting motion. Release. This is the third change, thumbs face, you. 14. Okay. Step, turn. Kind of missed the count on that. This is 16. 17. Not drop your weight, looks like it. 18, 19, and 20. It's from a different angle. Okay, now this time we'll give it to you from a different angle. This is 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, a step, turn, pivot. 17, the gravity effect. 18, thrust back. 19, forward, now turn. It's a backward thrust. Lower, boom. Okay. All right, so that's the second set of 10 from a variety of different angles, so to speak. Anything, Cliff, on that second set?
Just that seeing it from the side was extremely helpful.
Okay, yeah, I just figured we'd do it from a different angle here, a different angle there. And Fumiko, if you choose to, you can speak up if you have a question or you want some clarity on the movement, okay?
Yeah, it reminds me when we were doing 30 movement like practically every Sunday in the park.
Well,
Right.
that's all we could do when you know.
Right.
Yeah, in other words, it was outside with no contact here, but we had the weapons, so yeah. Now you can learn the actual steps of it, but you know, it's called the Tai Sabaki in the first set, you know, in other words, instead of. See, that's a spiral thrust. It's not with the arms. The arms go straight out with follow throughs from the hips. Ooh. Okay. Ooh. And the first set of 10 is just thumbs face either away from you or in the opening sequence they face up. So, okay. Again, second set of 10. Second change, thumbs face. Third change, thumbs face you. Fourth change, we're doing it with the hands in the first change position, but you can do the weight effect, the gravity effect, actually, from the second change with the third change. When somebody grabs your wrist, there's that change. Okay. Okay. Let me get this out of the way. Now, we're going to go into the last set of 10. Now, the last set of 10, the first set of 10 is very important foundational because it introduces the Tai Sabaki. Okay? My basic sense of it, most people think enter, turn. Okay, but my basic sense. The turning motion comes off of the entering motion. But you know, they're both Irimi Tenkan, but still, done. Okay. And this is just my own feel sense. Okay. Then we get that, in other words, the second change. This is still that spiral on the thrust. And here, there's still that change. Okay. Without the spin. Still that change. All right. So that carries over from the first set of 10. Now, the third set of 10 is where things can get entertaining and wild. Okay. So, what we're going to do I'll kind of slant the angle here for a bit. 21. Sweep. 21. Sweep. Now, somebody is coming in this side, raising to come at you. So you're catching it. Boom. Right at the top. Right here. With something sharp. Boom. And point it. 21. 21. 22. And blade here. Now, what happens, for example, a lot of times, this is explained, this is go kill, the fifth change. Now here, if you grab somebody with a knife, the knife comes and can cut. So what you do here is you turn the blade away from you and you come in and take, usually with a turn. Okay? But right here, let's go over that again. 21, 22. Now we're going to take and right side, go to the right, left side, cover the middle, and up. Right, left, back to the center, cover face in the head. Okay, so 21, 22. Now, when you grip this, you're in the first position, but okay, one way. Windshield wipers, starting with the right side, left side. Now you're gonna open your sunroof. Boom. See, this covers face and head. Okay. It's adjustable. You can go lower. A little too high. Okay. So now when I grip it, this is the first change position. Right, left, back to the center, boom. Again, windshield wipers. Open your sunroof. Boom. Okay, that's 23. 21, 22, this is again the fifth change. 23. Okay, 24. I'm going to slide my left hand up, right hand's going to catch the bottom. I take a step back. And this is where things get kind of fancy. Okay. The sharp end, but also the long end. Right hand, thumb down. Take, left hand catches, step back. 25. 26. Up with the left hand, down with the right. Turn, cover your head. And again, 27. The tip, the long end goes full circle. Right hand takes, thumb away. Catch with the left. I have to watch this. Notice how the tip is back. I'm going to swing that tip around, full circle. Then I'm going to take a step, turn, pivot. That's 28. Okay? That's very much like movement 16. Okay? But movement 16 doesn't have that full sweep. Why would I do that? Well, this is sharp and pointed. Surrounded by some attackers. You're going to create space for yourself and some time. Okay? So that has a sweep to it. The point is in back, it goes all the way down. Be very careful doing that inside. Okay? So let's go over that again. Right foot forward. 21, that's a sweep. Somebody's coming at you from this end, and you're intercepting at the top. 22, fifth change. 23 starts with the grip. Tip goes right, left. Back to the center. Cover your head and face. 1, 2, back to the centers. 3, 4, cover. 25. Right hand stays where it is, the left moves up, right hand takes the end. You step back with the right foot. 26. The long end or the pointed end goes all the way down. Take from the top. Right hand thumb down. Catch with the left, take a step back with your left foot. It's 25. Right, left hand up, right hand down. Cover, that's 26. 27, the long end, the points out there. Full circle. Right hand catches the staff here. Left hand catches the bottom of the staff. And right here, remember, watch where you're doing it inside. Full circle sweep. Bunch of attackers coming at you, they're facing sharp cutting steel. And as part of that, we go step, turn, pivot, just like we did for movement 16. And that's movement number 28. Okay. 29, rotate the hip. Left hand takes more in the middle. Release the right hand, make sure that's sharp, it doesn't. Right hand takes, left hand takes, so it's in the second position, and chin's rise, you step back. Okay? So what we're doing is, we're going through a series. This is, it's not a kata, but the structure, that's kind of how we learn. Okay, so we'll go through it again. 21, 22. Grip with the right, 23. 24. Let go of the right hand, lift the long end of the sharp end all the way down. Take right hand from the top. 25, step back. Now, left hand up, right hand down. 26, turn, cover your head and face. 27 is this change here. Let go. And the long end sharpens away. Take right hand. Catch left. Now watch. Be careful of this inside. That tip is back. It goes all the way around. And then it's like moving 16. Step, turn. And I'm going to switch sides, or from forward there, I'm going to go back. Left hand, without cutting myself, tip, cutting from right hand takes, left hand takes, step back. It's 30. Okay, now, all of that is designed to look something like that. Okay? And it has some beginnings of what I call the fire-water changes. Okay? Now the first one, come down from the top. Second one is the same change, just we're doing like a helicopter. This is kind of, whoa, whoa. Okay. Now, let's check Cliff, any questions? That last 10?
No specific questions, Sensei. Again, I was just focused on refining and smoothing out the technique and the feel of it.
Okay. And again, Fumiko, if you choose to, you can join in, or we respect it, just like to kind of watch. Okay, this will be posted, so if you want to learn the 30. Okay, now the last set of 10 is designed to get you more into a flow creative dimension. Okay, now for example, right here, I'm going to switch from the more dramatic prop to a less dramatic prop. But the long end for me, if I'm just always in the middle and spinning around, I don't know I lose track of what's sharp and pointed and what's not. So, and I'm holding here. The long end is always the sharp pointed end. Okay? Here, 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 and here. Okay? Now, inside, which I do most of my practice these days, shorter. Okay. Even shorter. Let's say what I'm doing, I still give it a long end. Still a long end. It's easier to kind of move inside with the shorter staff. Okay? Now, things that we introduced. Thumb down from the top, step back. Your thumb space away, take, sweep, step, turn. There's a lot of turning, okay? One thing Sensei talked about, he wrote poetry, he said, when surrounded by a forest of attackers, your mind is your shield, okay? And again, I have to be very careful inside because this is long and I could very easily hit something. So, I caution everybody, when you're inside, I use short, you can use an umbrella. So, okay. But here, 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 here. Boom. So what you're doing, there's several things in that. One is what I call the two-handed figure eight motion. So we do it from starting with the right side. I go right, swings back, comes back to the center and covers. You can go like this and make it 3 movements, but it flows better if you take it back to the center before you raise it. Windshield wipers, weather better, open your sunroof. Boom, 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 boom. But what happens after a while? You go this way, and maybe you go this way, or conversely, you go this way, sweep in the other direction. Figure 8 movement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 4, 1, 4. So, I'm taking what Sensei said when surrounded by a forest of attackers, create a forest of spears. I'm just waving wood around. Somebody's going to come in and get racked over the head, okay? But if it's sharp steel, boom, 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 boom. All I'm doing right there is the movement 23 is a version of it. Now, one thing you can do, left, right, back to the center. Boom, boom, boom. Now you can do a pivot off of that. Now here what I'm doing, changes, boom, 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 okay, boom. Come down, figure eight, double figure eight, double figure eight. Okay? Now you can do the changes off of the single figure eight. Boom, boom, boom. So, some of that you just have to explore. Okay? Let's see. Let me. So, you know, I'm going to tell the woman from India if she's back there. One, we do have these broadcasts, which are also posted on Facebook. And so, you know, that's one way of keeping in touch, even though you're somewhere else. Okay. And these are exercises that are very important. They're not taught very much because usually it's the physical form through the body movement. But a couple of things. Your hips are ball and socket joints. Now, a lot of times people swing the hips this way, but when I can explore other dimensions of movements, for example, that motion and that motion. When I get that, then all of a sudden, it opens up. See, most people tend to move this way, and then they'll move better this way. So when I start to get the movements more, let's say the hips are spherical. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is something we talk about, other dimensions. Let's say this is kind of like a tightrope, and you're a tightrope walker. You're walking a tightrope. You're limited by the dimensions the tightrope represents. But if you're a flea, you can go many more directions, all right? If you fall off, the flea's going to drop. It's not going to get hurt. Okay, if the tightrope walker loses balance and falls, unless there's a safety net, trouble. So movements like this, it's not just an arm movement. Hip, the hip. Likewise here, an arm movement, the hip. Ball and socket joints. Go here, here, here. Here, 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 and here. But like in basketball. Again, I study Stephen Curry's movement. He doesn't move like that. He moves like that. He goes up here. And he can also hesitation, go in and cross over. Ooh. Or he can step back. Ball and socket joints. So, it's almost like our world is like a tightrope. And we're tightrope walkers. And you don't lose anything. Look at the flea. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Whoa. Okay. Any anything you might want to add, Cliff? Any insight or?
Just that I got watching you do the improvisational moves at the end. If I watch what you're doing with your hips and your center, then I learn a lot more than if I watch the staff or the spear itself, right? It's like when you're watching a stage magician, you watch the magician, not what he's got in his hands, and then you
Yeah.
can learn something, you know.
Well, I mean, for example, are you watching Stephen Curry or are you watching the basketball? Obviously, for him, things happen like a basketball goes into the hoop. Okay, that's good. Or he creates driving lanes, or he creates lanes to pass. He's doing great. The team right now is, but that's another matter. But you know, movement. See, if I'm a tightrope walker, I'm really hampered by gravity. I'm hampered by the limited dimensions that I have access to. Now, when you start to watch and see, you know, these, when you make the connection, the ball and socket joints. See, if somebody grabs you strong, but you can, the other, but it's not just the hands that move, it's really your. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that, you know, ideally, you know, you come, but you know, did anybody really teach me this stuff? Not really. I mean, if you were to ask me where I got some of those changes, I mean, I studied with Hikizuchi Sensei, who, you know, he would do a move like, and all I started to do was instead of going 1, 2, I started going 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I just added a couple other beats to his basic delivery, and then I started experimenting with the different hand changes, and here we are. And he had a particular, he didn't call it a kata, but you know, it was a set of 35 movements. So I just basically said, well, there are other things that those movements didn't teach. So, you know, I just kind of, with a little bit of guidance, the Do Sensei and I, we go over the O Sensei stuff on a weekly basis. So, you know, trying to take what we do, or, you know, working on O Sensei stuff into this. That's kind of where the 30 movements came from. Fumiko, anything you want to add? If you don't want to add anything, that's cool too. And I guess we're almost at the end. So today's Friday. We will be in Mountain View on Sunday, 11:30 to 1. Ideally, we've had some technical issues over there. So some of the stuff didn't get recorded recently, but we intend to record. And if it's recorded, we will edit and post it on Facebook. Now, what I'm going to do with this, because my students at San Jose State, give them a little more of a review of the 30, but you know, the last set of 10 is quite daunting. Okay. Anything before we go, Cliff? Anything?
Nothing, no question. So thank you very much, Sensei.
Does it help to see it with a spear?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
Because I don't have one at home. I have a Joe. And
Yeah.
I have a bow that I use outside.
So the long end represents the sharp pointed spear point. that point can both cut, you know, from this end, boom. Now, for example, if you are using a blocking motion, you don't want to block that. So you block this way, but boom, and that comes that way, or you block, and very quickly you can change from a blocking end, boom, to the pointed, piercing, cutting end. That's why the spear is fascinating. It has a real yin-yang, izanagi feel to it. Okay, that's why since I apparently really love the spear. And you see his sword work, the body changes come out of the spear. It's not what I call traditional sword. Okay, so anyway, I guess this is it for today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure this gets put away without poking anything or breaking anything. And I thank you for tuning in today. Hope to see you on Sunday. And I'm going to turn off the recording